ESPN is under the Disney umbrella. They're going to have cuts coming. Hell, for all I know, I might be one of them.
Okay, so I'm not sure if many of you know, but sports network giant and Disney-owned ESPN has had a rough decade or so after numerous layoffs in 2015, 2017, 2020, and are now expected to slash a lot of positions imminently within the company. It's no secret the network has struggled as they've seen their footprint cut from 100 million US households to just 75 million today, and if we're gonna be honest, I kinda have a hunch as to why their share has decreased in recent years. On one side, it has to do with how the internet has evolved and how other independent media outlets have taken some of the viewership as mainstream media has started to slowly lose their market share. You've got so much content available on social media, particularly YouTube, and sometimes it's just more refreshing to hear from a fresh voice or maybe a new take on sports. That said, Stephen A. Smith, who's currently the second highest paid on-air ESPN talent, making around $12 million a year, jokingly said that nobody in the company was safe. Now, I don't think Stephen A is going anywhere. His name is synonymous with the company, and he's the face of their flagship show, First Take, but that does leave a lot of smaller names on the table. It's usually the middle echelon names that are most likely to be on the chopping block during these cuts. That said, all legacy media companies are going through a rough time, but in ESPN's case, I think the situation is a little different. ESPN is a sports network, however, over the last few years, the company has started to delve into more social issues in sports and brought in politics on their show. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at this mashup.
You are white. I am black.
White supremacy, slave trade.
Because you're white.
Racial discrimination, African Americans, black women.
White privilege. White privilege. White privilege. White people should feel a certain amount of guilt.
Black men. White analysts. Black dude. Racism. White dude. I am a black man. My blackness, a lot of racists out there.
Racist. 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 Racist.
Black guy versus a white guy.
Racist. Racist.
Race riots.
White privilege.
Black players.
Colorism, fairer skin, racism, racism, black man, white people, a black young man, white guys, black man, white girl, black people.
We don't know, but we do know this. Since you do want to bring it up, we do know this, that when it comes to MVP voting, 80% of the voters are white American. 20% are other.
Now, the company has obviously turned their attention towards social justice, and if I'm going to be honest, I think this has turned off a lot of viewers. For me particularly, I can understand at times when certain issues related to sports has to be addressed due to the topic being at the top of the trending charts, but ESPN in my mind has continuously tried to stoke the flames involving all the racial elements and politics in sports. Case in point, the last clip involving Kendrick Perkins and JJ Redick, where the former tries to stoke the flames and blame the NBA MVP voting on the racist white voters, just goes to prove what I'm talking about. ESPN via Molly Karam had to retract what Perkins said, as it turned out the voters were pretty well diversified.
80% of the voters are white American. 20% are other.
The next day.
I want to correct something here from yesterday's show. When Kendrick Perkins said 80% of NBA voters for the MVP award are white. The NBA publicly announces the voters each year, and after review, it is clear the panel is much more diverse than what was portrayed by Kendrick Perkins, and we wanted to make sure that we corrected that today.
Then you also had a period of time when the network continuously focused on the lack of black coaches in the league with the recent dismissal of Steve Wilkes from the Panthers bench. However, nothing was ever said the season earlier with Rick Bisaccia of the Raiders, who led his team to the playoffs only to be shown the door after the season. It's things like this that I think have rubbed the viewers the wrong way. ESPN has clearly taken a certain stance and position on race in sports, and that has clearly neglected a large chunk of their audience. They are owned by Disney, and the parent company, from what I hear, have been trying to shop ESPN off to another buyer. Anyways, it remains to be seen how the network will continue with its coverage of sports, because it appears the writing is on the wall. Viewers do not want politics mixed with their sports. It's kind of like an NFL locker room. You'll hear a lot of former players talk about two things never to mention the locker room, and that was religion and politics. Those are two touchy subjects that people will stand by their beliefs. Anyways, what do you think about ESPN involving politics and sports? Do you like the approach, or do you think they should tone it down a bit? What are your thoughts?